Suggestion. In a book titled The Practice of Autosuggestion, written by Mr. C. Harry Brooks and published by Dodd, Mead & Co., Mr. Brooks describes a very interesting and educational visit to the clinic of Dr. Emile Coué. At the end of Nancy's Street, Jean d'Arc, in a charming garden next to Dr. Coué's home, is where the clinic is located. He claims that although the waiting area for patients was already busy when he arrived, eager visitors kept attempting to get in. On the ground floor, the windowsills were overgrown, and the door had developed a thick knot. The patients were seated on foldable chairs and camp stools, taking up every available space. Then he describes the several astonishing recoveries that Dr. Coué went on to accomplish, using nothing more than patient suggestion that the patient possesses the ability to heal himself. A children's clinic was also there, run by Mademoiselle Kaufmann, who devoted her entire time to it. Because it teaches us that the difficulties we face in life are, at least in part, the result of our own doing, Mr. Brooks believes Coué's insights could have a significant impact on both our daily lives and education. We replicate the thoughts in our head in both ourselves and our environment. Further, it provides a method for us to alter these thoughts when they are wicked and nurture them when they are beneficial, leading to a proportional improvement in our own lives. However, the process does not finish with the person. Thoughts of society are realized in social circumstances, while thoughts of humanity are realized in global circumstances. What might a generation raised from infancy on autosuggestion knowledge and practice look like towards our social and global problems? Would the illusory need for possessions endure if everyone achieved happiness in himself? Accepting autosuggestion requires a shift in perspective and a re-evaluation of life. When facing west, all we can see are clouds and night, but with a simple head movement, we can witness the expansive scene of the sunrise. Van Buren Thorne, M.D., wrote an excellent review of Emile Coué's work for the New York Times, dated August 6, 1922, and stated that the keystone of the system of treatment for mental and physical ills developed and elaborated by Emile Coué of Nancy, France, can be summed up in one sentence. The conscious mind and the unconscious mind are two minds that belong to the person. The latter is literally the subservient servant of the conscious mind and is referred to by some psychologists as the subconscious mind. Our internal economy is managed and governed by the unconscious mind. Its functions enable our vital organs to work: the digestion and absorption of food, repairs, waste elimination, and the continuation of life itself. According to Dr. Coué, all a person needs to do when the conscious mind decides that additional efforts are needed to correct a deficit, whether physical or mental, is to audibly express that thought in the form of a direct suggestion to the unconscious mind. The humble, obedient servant then immediately and without hesitation follows the orders of its conscious master. Numerous well-known individuals in France, England, and other parts of Europe, including Dr. Coué and Mr. Brooks, have stated that the outcomes in many of the cases they have personally observed have been nothing short of miraculous. When given 3 facts about the Nancy practice, those who have not seen the advantages of this type of treatment, and may therefore be prone to skepticism, are more inclined to pay attention to what follows. First off, during the many years of his administration, Dr. Coué has never received payment for his services. Second, he has a propensity of telling his patients that they must locate the source of their own well-being within themselves, because he has no healing abilities and has never in his life been able to heal anyone. Third, that anybody can make decisions for themselves without seeking advice from anyone else. A child who is able to understand the difference between the conscious and subconscious minds, and who is able to provide orders from one to the other, is also capable of self-administering treatment. Because no one knows a man's affairs better than the man who resides inside of him. For his title page, Mr. Brooks used a 1 Corinthians quotation. This was probably chosen as a suitable biblical allusion to the coexistence of the aware and unconscious minds. However, neither the treatment nor the book that describes it goes into great detail about any potential religious significance of the techniques used or the outcomes produced. Dr. Coué's concentration on the advantages to be gained from the regular repetition of this formula is the one factor that has made a significant contribution to the recent rapid spread of awareness about his technique of treatment at Nancy. Every day, I'm getting better and better in every aspect. While Mr. Brooks notes that religious minds who wish to associate the formula with God's care and protection might do so in this manner. Day by day, in every way, by the help of God, I'm getting better and better. I observed that there isn't much emphasis placed on the religious significance of his alleged cures. The key to treatment success is to instill enough trust in the conscious mind for the unconscious mind to take what it repeats at face value. To use Mr. Brooks' words, if the unconscious accepts a notion that reaches the conscious mind, it will turn it into reality and make it a permanent part of our lives. However, let's first examine the process of writing this book before observing Dr. Coué at work. Mr. Brooks, an Englishman, was intrigued by Dr. Coué's work at Nancy and visited the location to see it for himself. According to Dr. Coué's preface to the book, Mr. Brooks spent several weeks with him last summer and was the first Englishman to travel to Nancy with the specific intention of learning about conscious autosuggestion techniques. He went to Dr. Coué's consultations and fully mastered the technique. The hypothesis underlying the treatment was then extensively discussed by the two men. Dr. Coué claims that Mr. Brooks expertly identified the basics and skillfully presented them in the volume in a way that seemed to him to be both straightforward and understandable. We may ensure for ourselves, all the days of our lives, a wonderful condition of health, both of the mind and the body, by using this way, adds Dr. Coué. It is a method which everyone should follow. The sick to obtain healing, the healthy to prevent the coming of disease in the future. Let's go inside Dr. Coué's office with Mr. Brooks now. A lovely garden with flower beds, strawberry patches, and fruit-bearing trees can be found towards the back of the home. The garden benches are occupied by groups of patients. 2 brick structures house the waiting and consulting areas. Men, women, and children who are patients are crammed into these. Coué starts working right away. The first patient is an elderly and feeble man. He struggles to move, and a pronounced tremor can be felt in his head, legs, and arms. His daughter backs him up. He is invited by Coué to get up and move. He takes a few steps across the floor while being assisted by a stick. He is assured that he will recover, and Coué adds, "You have been sowing bad seeds in your unconscious. Now you will sow good seed. The power by which you have produced such ill effects will in the future produce equally good ones." He retorts, "Madam, you think too much about your ailments, and in thinking about them, you create new ones," to a woman who bursts into a stream of complaint. He advises a young person with inflamed eyes, a worker with varicose veins, and a female with headaches that autosuggestion should provide complete relief. He meets a neurasthenic girl who is visiting the clinic for the 3rd time and has been using the technique at home for 10 days. She claims that things are improving. Now that she can eat heartily and sleep peacefully, she can start to enjoy life. The next person to catch his eye is a large peasant who was formerly a blacksmith. He claims that for about 10 years, he has been unable to raise his right arm above the level of his shoulder. Coué forecasts a full recovery. He continues questioning patients for another 40 minutes. Then he listens to people who have come to share with him the advantages they have experienced. Here is a woman who experienced a painful breast swelling that the doctor misdiagnosed as malignant, in Coué's judgment. She claims that after receiving treatment for 3 weeks, she has fully recovered. Another has put on 9 pounds and recovered from anemia. A third claims to have had his varicose ulcer treated. While a 4th person, a lifetime stammerer, declares an instantaneous recovery. For 10 years you have been thinking you could not lift your arm above your shoulder. Consequently, you have not been able to do so for 10 years. Coué now turns to the former blacksmith. Now think, I can lift it. Whatever we imagine becomes true for us. He makes an attempt, adds, I can, with a skeptical expression, and it hurts. Keep doing it and tell yourself, I can. I can. Close your eyes and repeat after me, capace, capace, for 30 seconds. Then Coué instructs, now think well that you can lift your arm. The man confidently states, I can, and then raises it to its maximum height before holding it aloft in victory in front of everyone. Dr. Coué says calmly, "My friend, you are healed." The perplexed blacksmith exclaims, "It is marvelous." "I think so." Coué says, "Prove it by hitting me on the shoulder," and the strikes come in regular succession. Coué groans under the strokes of the sledgehammer. "Enough," he says. "You may now return to your anvil." He now turns to patient number 1, the frail man. By what he has observed, the patient appears to be filled with confidence. He gains control of himself after hearing Coué's directions, and after a short while he is moving around without any difficulty. Coué says, "You're welcome to come for a run in the garden after I finish with the clinic." Thus, it takes place. This patient quickly starts to trot around the enclosure at a speed of 5 miles per hour. Coué then moves on to making specific recommendations. He speaks in a quiet, monotone voice as the sufferers close their eyes. Here's an illustration. Say to yourself that all the words I am about to utter will be fixed, imprinted, and engraved in your minds, that they will remain fixed, imprinted, and engraved there, so that without your will and knowledge, without your being in any way aware of what is taking place, you yourself and your whole organism will obey them. I tell you first that every day, 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, at meal times, you will be hungry. That is to say, you will feel the pleasant sensation which makes us think and say, "How I should like something to eat." You will then eat with an excellent appetite, enjoying your food. But you will never eat too much. You will eat the right amount, neither too much nor too little, and you will know intuitively when you have sufficient. You will masticate your food thoroughly, transforming it into a smooth paste before swallowing it. In these conditions you will digest it well, and so feel no discomfort of any kind either in the stomach or in the intestines. Assimilation will be perfectly performed, and your organism will make the best possible use of the food to create blood, muscle, strength, energy. In a word, life. In the words of Mr. Brooks, they, Dr. Coué and Kaufmann, have placed not only their private means, but their whole life at the service of others. Neither ever accepts a penny piece for the treatments they give, but I have never seen Coué refuse to give a treatment at however awkward a time the subject may have asked for it. Mr. Veltmer states in Regeneration, "The last battle in which the race is engaged is now underway. It is not a battle of cannon and sword, but a conflict of ideas. It is not going to be destructive, but constructive. It will not be a destroying warfare, but a fulfilling. It will not promote discord, but will ensure harmony. It will not individualize the race, and each person will stand alone, recognizing we. When a man views himself in this way, he realizes that the kingdom inside not only exists in him, but also in all other men. We must presume that the ability to execute, act, or carry out the work we assign to our brains exists within the mind. Yet, before assigning this task to the mind, we must have a clear understanding of what has to be done. We must draw the conclusion or presume that it is true that we possess the ability to create life and health. We must also understand how and from where it is created in order to renew the body. We would be able to understand what the author means when he says, "Eye hath not seen nor ear heard, until that veil of ignorance which envelops us be lifted, and we be permitted to look into the storehouse of knowledge, such as the prophet or seer was allowed to look upon. Could we but climb where Moses stood, and view the landscape above? Could we but experience what Paul did during the time when he says, 'I know not whether I was in the body or out.' The brain is an organ that allows us to communicate our ideas to other parts of our body and receive outside impressions via the senses. People tend to believe that great minds are the result of fine brains because great men have developed brains of a higher caliber than other people. However, if they were to view the brain as any other perishable body organ, they would realize that it is simply the organ through which the mind manifests. As orderly as the movements of the sun and planets, every achievement follows a predictable pattern. First we desire, then we believe, then we test the belief, and finally we acquire knowledge. We entertain a belief, which enters our minds and exerts power over us. If he can strengthen his conviction, a poor man can escape his bonds. A suggestion needs to be good and unchallenged in order to have a dominating influence. The person entertaining it must view it as a constant in his life that cannot be altered or changed. The notion of suggestion can also be applied in still another way, according to Mr. J.R. Seward of Hamilton, Montana. He claims, "I chewed, or rather ate, the weed for 15 years. I didn't intend to form the habit when I started in, but I thought that it was beneficial to my transition from youth to manhood. After the habit had grown on me for several years without my knowledge, I realized that I was in the grip of a slowly but surely growing octopus that had me freely within its embrace, and I was helpless. I'll now describe to you how my friend's wife helped me kick a bad habit and persuaded us both of the amazing power of suggestion when used correctly. I became interested in the study of directed thought around the time I hit rock bottom, as well as inspirational literature that later caught my attention. At first, I was rather skeptical, but as I read and thought and started looking for proof in the events of our daily lives and in our environment, the truth started to dawn upon me. I started to see and know that life manifestations are a result of directed thought. But to think oneself out of a habit that clings as tightly as thought itself is a difficult task without assistance. I slept in one bedroom with one of the kids, while my wife slept in another bedroom with our then youngest boy, who was around 8 months old. At the time, we attempted the recommendation for quitting smoking. She had to stay up occasionally during the night to tend to the baby, and it was at those moments that she treated my mental health while I was asleep. She would imagine herself or mentally project herself as though she were standing or kneeling beside my bed and speaking to me, with her suggestions being of a constructive and positive nature rather than of a negative nature. It went something like this: "You are now desiring freedom from the tobacco habit. You are free in desire and enjoy mastery more than indulgent." She made the aforementioned recommendation in substance to me every time she was awake during the night, and I do swear under penalty of perjury that 6 days after she began therapy, I had entirely stopped desiring and using tobacco. That was a few months ago, and today, more than ever before in my life, I am in complete control of my habits of thought, speech, and behavior. From being an underweight, anxious wreck to a full-weight, healthy, strong, and clear-thinking guy, everyone who knows me has seen the difference in the way I appear, act, and seem. Since then, I've been interested in studying and doing constructive, focused thinking. There may be other wireless vibrations of a higher or lower tune or key passing at the same time, but only those in harmony are used in wireless telegraphy or telephony. The tuning coil is an instrument that vibrates in harmony with an electrical wave or vibration of a certain length. It is in tune with that particular tune of wave, and as a result, they are in harmony and allow the vibration to go on to the other receiving instrument unhindered. We can tune our minds to low vibration thoughts like the animal impulses of nature, or we can tune them to thoughts of an educational or mental nature, or we can, after some qualifications are met, tune ourselves to receive purely spiritual thought vibrations. This power constitutes the divine power that is given to man. Of course, you will readily see that there never was any such thing as a low vibration thought, and there never will be. The power to drive a suggestion in the very center of desire, where it grows to the point of action, if in harmony with the thought vibration of the desire, is the foundation of all salesmanship. When skillfully used, it tends to relax one's conscious attention and warm up and quicken the desire until a favorable response is gained. Window displays, counter displays, as well as illustrated advertising, all rely on this power. The quality of thought determines the amount of success in life, as is easily demonstrated by the builder and his blueprints, the seamstress and her designs, or the school and its product, all in line with the leading constructive idea.